Listen to the class report.
Some people have hobbies when they're young, which they forget about when they grow up. For example, my dad used to collect stamps, but he doesn't anymore. However, some of these hobbies can be very useful because people can turn them into careers. Taking photos is a popular hobby for many people, but some people sell their photos and make a living from photography. Another useful hobby that can lead to a career is baking. Many people who own coffee shops started off baking cakes as a hobby. My hobby is collecting coins. I'm not sure yet if this is a useful hobby or not, but I hope that it means that one day I'll be rich.
Activity B. Listen to the lecture.
An unusual hobby is collecting rocks. Some people think this is a waste of time, but it can actually be a very useful hobby. After all, rocks are what our planet is made of. So, by studying rocks, we can learn more about the planet we live on. There are so many different types of rocks, and they can tell us about what happened to the Earth at different times. Was the Earth covered by ice at one point? What happened to the dinosaurs? Did America used to be part of Africa? Rocks can help us answer all these questions.
Listen to the lecture.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Susan Key from the Children's Health Association. The main point of today's lecture is to tell you why you need to eat healthy school lunches. This is an important subject because what you eat affects how well you do at school. Many studies have shown that children who eat a healthy lunch can concentrate better in class than those who eat junk food for lunch. Junk food like hamburgers, chocolates, and chips might taste good, but they are filled with sugar and unhealthy fats. These make concentrating difficult and can cause health problems over time. Healthy food gives you energy, helps you grow, and helps you concentrate in class. It can also improve your memory. Salads, fresh sandwiches, and fruit are all healthy lunch options, and they taste good too.
Sue, what are the latest food trends?
We have lots of interesting developments and even possible solutions for world problems related to food.
Great. So can you
Well, the key question is always what to eat. And here we may see some changes, things that you might not understand as food groups.
Can you give an example?
An example is insects.
As a food group?
Well, in Latin America, Asia, and Africa, people have eaten insects for thousands of years. But it's only now that we in the West are seeing what a good food source they are. Insects are rich in protein, low in fat, and easy to farm.
So spiders and ants may be on the menu.
We might see them on menus in the West. Now, technology will also play a part in the future of food. Scientists have already found ways to create meat in the lab.
Right, but it tastes awful, doesn't it?
It tastes awful now, but maybe it won't in the future. And as well as meat made in a lab, we're also looking at ways to make proteins out of things like mud and wood and also seaweed.
It seems incredible that mud might be something we can eat.
Well, it's the same for seaweed, which again is easy to farm because it's everywhere. Other developments on your kitchen table include an intelligent knife.
What's that?
An intelligent knife will tell you all about the food it's cutting. So, say you cut a slice of meat. The knife will tell you how much protein and fat is in the meat, where it's from, how old it is.
That's amazing.
Really giving people more information about their food.
Welcome to the world of work. Today we have two young people in the studio. They are going to talk to us about voluntary work. Welcome to the show, Martin and Karen.
Thank you.
Karen, let's start with you. What kind of voluntary work do you do?
I work in a soup kitchen for homeless people. My local church runs a homeless charity, and every evening homeless people can come to the church and have a simple meal. It's usually soup and bread.
That's great, Karen. And what about you, Martin? What does your voluntary work involve?
I work on an organic farm.
What exactly do you do on the farm?
I do lots of different jobs. I plant trees and vegetables. I feed the chickens. I collect the eggs from the chickens. And I sometimes cook lunch for all the other volunteers. It's a big farm, and there are 15 volunteers.
How many hours do you work, Karen?
I'm a student and I have a lot of work at the moment. I don't have much free time, so I do 2 or 3 hours a week.
I do quite a lot. I go every Saturday and Sunday. We start very early in the morning and finish at about 7 o'clock in the evening. It's very hard work, and I feel tired at the end of the day. But I don't mind, because I love being on the farm.
What sort of people volunteer?
Fantastic people. No. Volunteers are caring people. Of course, a lot of people are caring, but volunteers are more likely to do something about it.
So why do you do this voluntary work?
I am passionate about the environment, and I'm interested in responsible farming. I believe that organic farming is very important for the future. I also like working in a team. I learn important life skills, and I'm more confident than before. Also, I want to study farming and agriculture, so this is good experience.
What about you, Karen?
Well, there are problems in my community and I want to help. There's also a selfish reason for doing it. It impresses people and I like that.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Martin. Now, unemployment has been...
Hi, Becky. How are you?
Hi, Tim. Great, thanks. Are you busy?
No, not really. Why?
Well, I'm thinking of doing some voluntary work in Africa, and I wanted to ask you some questions.
Sure. What do you want to know?
Well, you're experienced. You did voluntary work in Africa and you know me. Do you think I'm the right person to be a good volunteer?
Oh, yes. I'm sure you can do it. But it's a good idea to think about it very carefully. It's good fun, but it's also really hard work.
Yes, I can imagine.
You need to be really healthy. How fit are you?
Oh, very fit. I'm never ill.
That's great, because volunteers often work in difficult conditions, and they sometimes work long hours.
What do you mean?
Well, life is very different there, and you have to adapt to new situations. For example, the weather can be extreme. The food and the accommodation are very different. You need to adapt to a new culture.
It sounds very exciting. Did you meet a lot of people?
Yes, I worked with a big group of people. I think you'll enjoy that because you're a good team player. You have good communication skills. You get on well with people. You're outgoing and you're responsible. That's really important.
Thanks, Tim. What about the local people? Were they friendly?
I met some lovely people, but you need to be sensitive to their culture. I was open to people. You need to remember that their way of life is not the same as our way of life.
Right. What did you learn from your experience?
I changed a lot. I think I helped a lot of people, but I also learned new skills. I made friends who I hope I'll know for the rest of my life.
It sounds amazing. Thanks, Tim.
No problem. Call me if you have any more questions.
Hey, Claudia. Are you going to watch Young and Talented tonight?
You bet.
Come and watch it at my house. It'll be fun. Who do you think will win?
Tough question. I like Gary Elphinstone, the trumpet player. He has so much talent and confidence.
He's the guy from Scotland, right? I like him too. It's unusual to hear classical music on a trumpet. But I think the girl who plays the cello will win.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. I thought cellos were only for classical music, but the music she plays is... It isn't rock. It isn't jazz. I've never heard music like that before. What's her name again?
Sophie Graves.
That's right. She's got talent, style, good looks. You're right. I think she'll win.
What do you think of the piano player, Lewis Marshall?
He's okay, but I don't really like jazz. My mum thinks he should win, but then she's a jazz fan. She says intelligence and good looks are important, and he has them. There's one more person.
Anna Stewart.
Right. She's a brilliant violin player, and I love Irish folk music.
My dad wants her to win. He thinks she's got it all. Good looks, talent, determination, confidence.
When she plays, she totally rocks.
OK, Carol. Are we ready to order now?
I think so. Let's check what we all want first.
Well, I'd like the roast beef.
The same for me.
OK, that's Sam and Charlie, 2 roast beef.
Can I have fries with mine, please?
OK, and Sam, do you want some fries too?
No, thanks. Just potatoes and vegetables.
Mum, do you want roast beef too?
Yes. But I'm not sure now. The grilled chicken looks good. Yes, grilled chicken. And could I have it with grilled vegetables and rice?
Of course, Mum. What about you, Rosie?
Fish and a large fries for me, please.
With salad?
Yeah, great.
Tony, what would you like?
Chicken soup. And pasta with prawns, I think.
Yes, the soup's a good idea. But I'm a vegetarian, so I'd like the vegetable soup, I think, and a large cheese salad.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like to order now?
Yes, I'd like the chicken
soup. Today I'm going to be talking about nutrition. Nutrition, very simply, is about food. The food humans need to grow and be healthy. It is the science of food. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Lara Kennedy, a trained dietitian. This means that I am an expert in nutrition and diet. I know all about what people need to eat to be healthy and strong, and what people must not eat if they have certain allergies. For example, my sister has a dairy allergy, so she can't eat milk or cheese. If she does, she has problems with her skin. Other people have wheat or even chocolate allergies. This means that their bodies don't like these foods, so it's better not to eat them. Some allergies can be so bad that people can get very sick. Seafood allergies in particular can be very dangerous.
Many poultry farmers who farm poultry such as chickens, ducks, and turkeys worry a lot about bird flu. This is a disease that affects birds, but it also affects humans. They know that if one of their chickens or ducks tests positive for bird flu, in other words, is found to have bird flu, then all their poultry will be killed to make sure the disease doesn't spread. They also worry that people will eat less poultry because they are worried about getting bird flu. This will affect their sales, but I don't think people need to worry. Everyone knows that the white meat from poultry is a very healthy food. It has much less fat in it than red meat, which comes from animals such as cows and sheep. White meat is also high in protein, and some people, especially those in the United States, will always want to eat turkey for Christmas. It's tradition.
Hi, Simon. Where were you earlier?
Hi, Melissa. I was at a school trip meeting.
Wow! Are you a student representative? That's new. You weren't interested in the school at all last year.
I know, but I'm glad. It's really interesting. You should come.
I can't this year. I go to 3 extra classes after school. I spend all my time studying. I'm surprised you have time with all your sports.
It's only one sport now. I play basketball twice a week, but that's all. What about you?
Me? Play sport? No way. Anyway, tell me about the school trip. Where are we going?
Well, I don't know yet. We couldn't agree. The teachers want to go somewhere educational. Their idea was Stratford-upon-Avon and a trip to see Hamlet at the Shakespeare Theatre. Fiona was very happy with that idea, but the rest of us weren't. We want to go walking somewhere. There are some beautiful national parks near here.
What if it rains?
It doesn't matter. Rain doesn't hurt you. We can wear coats.
Well, I don't usually agree with Fiona, but I think she's right this time. Stratford is great. It's close to Warwick, which is a beautiful town with an amazing castle, and it's a good place to walk too. You can walk along the River Avon, and there are parks and forests not far away.
Great ideas. You should come to the next meeting and tell everyone your ideas.
Well, let me think about it. When is the next meeting?
On Tuesday, after school. Have you got any extra lessons that day?
No, but we always get a lot of homework on Tuesdays. I don't know. Ask me again on Monday.
OK, great.
All over the world, children go to school in different ways. Today, I'd like to talk about the different ways children get to school. In cities, children often take buses or trams. They might even take taxis to school, but these can be expensive. In London, children can take the Underground. This is a fast underground train. In the United States, it's known as the subway, and in Hong Kong, it's the MTR. Children who live on islands have to take ferries to get to school. Other children get exercise on their way to school. They walk or even ski. Skiing can only be done in places like Canada, where it snows in winter. Sometimes it snows so much that schools are closed.
In this photo, I can see a street artist drawing a portrait on the pavement. In the background, there are some people watching him. They're wearing shorts and t-shirts, so I think it's summer. The street is quite crowded, so perhaps this is a tourist area. The street artist has got dark hair and he's wearing jeans and a bright green t-shirt. He looks quite young. Next to him is a picture and he's copying it. In my opinion, he's a very good artist. I imagine he's going to collect money from the people who are watching him. Personally, I'd give him some money because I think he's done a good job.
Shakespeare wrote 37 plays. Romeo and Juliet is the most popular, but Hamlet is the longest and the most challenging for actors. In fact, with over 30,000 words, Hamlet is much longer than Romeo and Juliet, which has around 24,500 words. Both Mariah Carey and Christina Aguilera are very successful pop singers with great voices. Christina Aguilera has an amazing vocal range of 4 octaves. But Mariah Carey's vocal range is even better, an impressive 5 octaves. The 5-day Glastonbury Festival in England is huge. It attracts 175,000 people. But it isn't as big as Summerfest, USA. Summerfest is an 11-day festival, and it attracts over 1 million people, making it the world's biggest pop festival. There have been many best-selling film soundtracks over the years, including Saturday Night Fever, Titanic, or Forrest Gump. But the best-selling movie soundtrack album ever is The Bodyguard, with the iconic hit song, I Will Always Love You, sung by Whitney Houston. How many people visit museums in your country? 7 million people visit the Palace Museum in Beijing, China, every year. But the Musée du Louvre in Paris is busier. It gets 8.5 million visitors per year. The Harry Potter films were all very expensive to make, but Pirates of the Caribbean, On Stranger Tides, was more expensive than any of them. It had a huge budget of nearly $380 million.
The city of Edinburgh is in the north of the United Kingdom. It is the capital of Scotland, and like Rome, it is on 7 hills. In the city, there are lots of neoclassical buildings. That's why people call Edinburgh the Athens of the North. Edinburgh has a nickname, Old Reekie, which means Old Smoky in English. Long ago, when houses burned coal, the air was smoky. It isn't like that now. Here are some examples of typical Edinburgh houses. Edinburgh is famous for its 12th century castle that stands above the city on a rock. The rock is an extinct volcano. Edinburgh Castle is a popular tourist attraction in Scotland. Edinburgh has a population of 450,000 people. In August, over 1 million people visit the city for the famous Edinburgh Festival. It is an art festival. Musicians, opera singers, dancers and actors perform at the festival. There is also the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, where anyone can perform, students or superstars. There is theatre, dance, music and comedy. The world-famous military tattoo is part of the festival. There are Highland dancers, pipes and drums and marching bands. Bands come from all over the world. There's always plenty to do in Edinburgh. You can visit the Scottish Whisky Experience near Edinburgh Castle and explore an interactive whisky distillery. Or you can take a walk along the Royal Mile, a very long street. The castle is at the top, and Holyrood House Palace, the official residence of the Queen in Scotland, is at the bottom. Or you can go to the Grass Market, with its antique markets and interesting pubs and restaurants. You can go around the city on a tram, or you can take a taxi, or take a tricycle. You can visit the Dynamic Earth Museum, the Children's Science Museum, and watch the creation of the Earth after the Big Bang. You can take a Scottish souvenir home, a tartan scarf or a kilt, the famous skirts that Scotsmen wear. On New Year's Eve, you can go to the biggest street party, Edinburgh's Hogmanay, to listen to live music in Princes Street Gardens and see fireworks on the 7 Hills.
Hi, and welcome to Green Ideas. Now, the problem with some of the traditional ways of saving the environment is that they can be really boring. So today, we're looking at ideas for protecting the environment that are a bit different, and we think they sound fun. Our first project is called Hug It Forward. This great project started in Guatemala, where communities decided to work together to build schools out of old plastic bottles. In the first project, over 1,800 kids from the region filled 10,000 plastic bottles with bits of plastic, food wrappers, and other rubbish found on the streets. They then used the bottles as bricks to help build a school. By the time they'd finished, they had a new school and the area was a lot cleaner too. Now the idea is spreading, and around the world more communities are using the bottle school technology to build their own schools. What a fantastic idea! And here's an idea for those of you who enjoy going out clubbing. The Saria nightclub in London was one of the first eco-friendly nightclubs in the UK. The club has a special dance floor, which uses the movement people make when they dance to generate energy. The dancers manage to produce 60% of the energy that the club uses for light and music. The owner of the eco club had another great idea. If you walk or cycle to the club rather than using a car or public transport, you get free entry. I love it. And our final idea for today is the story of the Seoul River Park. It's getting more and more difficult to find green spaces in cities. So when Dr. Ki Huang had a crazy idea to take down the city's main highway and uncover the river that flowed below to make a green park, most people thought he was mad. They told him that his idea would create traffic chaos and would be a disaster for the area. But Dr. Huang went ahead with the project and created the 5.8-kilometre Green River Park. It's a place where the residents of Seoul can walk, relax, and really enjoy the city. And you know what? People are happier. And there's a lot less traffic chaos than before. It just shows that sometimes even the craziest ideas can work.
Some energy sources are renewable. This means that they are unlimited in supply and can be used over and over again. Examples are solar energy, wind energy, and hydroelectric energy. Most of the electrical energy that supplies Australian households comes from burning fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, or natural gas. These fossil fuels were formed over millions of years and are known as non-renewable energy sources. Fossil fuels contain chemical potential energy, released when the fuel is burnt.
For a long time, humans could only travel as far as our feet would take us. In other words, slowly. Eventually, we got help from animals and the wind. Then engines brought us trains, automobiles, planes, and boats, without sails, and everything in between. Boat car, anyone? However, most engines burn fossil fuels, which produce greenhouse gas emissions. And greenhouse gases are warming up the planet to dangerous levels. Transportation accounts for 27% of greenhouse gas emissions in the UK. So getting to net zero will require big changes to transport, whether by sea, air, or land. From vacuums to vaccines, ships move so many of the goods we depend on. Ships with battery-powered electric engines are currently making short voyages, while hybrid engines, powered by a combination of batteries and fuel, are beginning to enable longer ones. But in the near future, the biggest impact will come from transitioning to new fuels. There are many available, and they all have different pros and cons. Some are cleaner, some are easier or cheaper to adopt, and some are safer to handle and store. Depending on the size of the ship, geography and cost, all options will be considered to help reduce emissions. The future of air travel may include flying cars, air taxis, and automated drone delivery. But for now, planes remain the first choice. New materials and technologies can help reduce emissions through fuel savings, like the Ultrafan from Rolls-Royce, which is larger and more efficient than previous engines, while also lighter, resulting in huge fuel savings. Electric engines will help too, and are already powering small aircraft, with many companies working to bring electric power to larger aircraft, capable of longer journeys with more passengers or cargo. But for now, low-carbon fuels, such as biofuels, hydrogen and synthetic options, play a part in the solution for reaching net zero. Previously, Most automotive engines depended on combustion of fossil fuels, which generates greenhouse emissions. Not good. But hybrid vehicles produce lower emissions from their tailpipes, and electric vehicles, or EVs, produce none. EVs use the same source of power as your kettle. But whereas your kettle uses the power immediately, EVs store the energy to use later. Essentially, they're battery-powered. And unlike traditional vehicles, EVs can use the vehicle's kinetic energy through regenerative braking to make them even more efficient. Hydrogen fuel cells already play a role in all of these types of transport as well, alongside batteries. And future innovations in these energy sources could mean they produce more power, making it possible for even long-haul lorries to be powered by electricity. Other developments, like the move away from car ownership towards sharing services, ultra-high-speed rail and automated vehicles will all help reduce emissions. While the future of transport gives us a lot to be hopeful for, governments, organisations and individuals will all have to continue working hard to research and develop new technologies and create new infrastructure, like rolling out charging points for electric vehicles or hydrogen refuelling stations for larger forms of transport, expanding vehicle-to-grid technology, which allows EV batteries to return energy to the grid at peak times, and building pipelines that can deliver hydrogen from where it's produced to where it's needed. We must also work to ensure that access to new technologies is fair and equitable, so that they're available to everyone. And finally, we must create more and more of our energy through renewable and other zero-carbon sources. Doing that will help us get to net zero.
1. Robert.
My name is Robert, and I live in a town near the south coast of England. My town is very big, and there are 2 shopping centres and a cinema. When I was a child, the town was very different. There were small shops in the town, and there wasn't a cinema. There was only 1 school, too. Now there are 5 schools. There was a train station when I was young, but there weren't any buses. My town was very quiet. Now there are a lot of people who live here, and it is busy.
2. Cecilia.
My name is Cecilia, and I live in a small town in the Lake District in the north of England. My town is small, but there are lots of ways to get to the nearest city. You can drive or get the bus. There are 10 buses a day to the city. In the past, there was just 1 bus every week to the city. It was very difficult to travel when I was young. My school wasn't in my town. It was in the city. Now there is a school bus, so students can get to school easily. My mum and dad were born here, and I was too. I love my town because it is a quiet place, and I know everybody here.
3. Harry.
My name is Harry, and I live in a city in the southwest of England. My city was very big when I was younger. It is very big today too, but lots of things are different from when I was a child. My school was very big. Now the school isn't there. It's part of a shopping centre. Also, my road was very quiet, but now we have a lot of cars on the road. There was a park next to our house when I was a child. Now there are lots of houses there,